My name is Dr. Stacie N.C. Grant. Hope is believing in what you can't always see. Hope is seeing the glass half full and never half empty. Hope is knowing that once there's breath, there's opportunity. And once there's opportunity, there's hope for tomorrow to do more, to be more, to give more, and to enjoy this gift called life with how we unwrap it every day. Resilience is just not quitting. I forgot who it was that said, if you're going through hell, keep going. Because you'll get out of it. Either you're coming out of something, you're right in the middle of it, or you're heading towards it. But resilience means that you're just not going to quit. You're going to give it your all. You're going to come back better. We all fail at something. I know I've done a lot of things the wrong way. I should write a book about that. But in any event, resilience means keep going. Don't stop, because that grit and determination that you build up along the way becomes what gives you that foundation to stay the course, because there's always better on the other side. The darkest hour is right before dawn. My grandmother was very resilient in Jamaica, West Indies, where she grew up. She never had a formal education. She went up until what we would have as high school here. But she was determined to have more for her family, to purchase the first home her and my grandfather purchased, because she stood on faith. And when I heard the story about the purchase of the first home, it brought my whole life full circle. My uncle said that they walked into the bank and they had their papers and their documentation, and they sat down with a loan officer ready to purchase their first home. So the officer's going through all the information. Anyone who's been through that nerve-wracking process, you know what it is to apply for credit or to make such a large investment. And the loan officer looked across the table and said, Mr. and Mrs. Roden, unfortunately, we're not able to give you a loan for this house. It's just not adding up on paper. And my uncle said that my grandmother looked at the officer and said, God told me I was getting a house, and I'm getting a house today. Meanwhile, my grandfather, who was a very proud man, probably wanted to sink straight through the floor at that point. And she didn't move. So my uncle is standing there. He felt very awkward. He was the oldest. He was there with them, kind of just seeing this process. And my grandmother did not budge. He said they stayed in the bank the entire day. And she kept telling them, look back over the papers, figure out something. God said, I'm getting this house, and I'm not leaving without the loan for this house. And my grandmother sat in that bank for an entire day until they were about to close. So I don't know if it was because they were ready to close that the loan officer was throwing his hands up in the air, but she knew it was God, and what God said, she believed, and that's faith. So her resilience has been a part of the fabric of who I am, and that's just one of many stories of how she stayed the course. She didn't quit. They told her no. She didn't take no for an answer, and maybe that's why I don't take no for an answer now. I think it's in my genes. You can't tell me no. And if it's something that I know has been divinely orchestrated, I'm going to stick it out. We quit too fast. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. But I'd like to twist that around and say, not only does the tough get going, it gets you grounded and even more resilient, because you know in the end you will win. What are my big hopes? I had to pause because I started getting emotional thinking about 2-3 decades from now, if I'm fortunate enough to have grandchildren and great-grandchildren, what will they say about the legacy that I'm carrying on? Because I didn't create it, and I'm carrying it on from a legacy of faith that my grandmother had and her grandmother. You know, my great-grandmother was alive, but she was raised by her grandmother, and later in life was able to take care of her own mother before she transitioned when I was in high school. So I'm sitting here thinking, wow, my hope would be that I collect the stories, that I continue to document the examples of faith, resilience, and hope that live right in my own family, and that I'm able to share that with community. And community is whoever you interact with. So whether it be my neighbor on my block, whether it be the many schools that I volunteered time and support PTAs, or the elected officials that have become part of my extended family and community in Southeast Queens, to make a difference and create that legacy and document the stories so that it can give hope to the next generation. That's truly my prayer, and that everything that I do adds value to those around me and those who will hear the story. That is not just meaningless work, but impactful ways that we transform our community one person at a time.